microphone.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of Interventions and Detentions. I'm Brad.
And I'm Kylie.
And we are coming at you with the latest episode, which is what episode, Kylie?
110.
110. Episode 10.
How
we are
did
on
we
a
get
roll.
to 10 already? That's
I don't know.
crazy.
Things are moving fast. This is a very special edition because we have a very special guest with us this week, right, Kylie?
Very special.
We are welcoming Superintendent Robby Morgan to the podcast. Robby is the superintendent of Central Noble Schools.
I really need that sound effect button to work again.
I know. We're having some difficulties today. This is actually take 3 right now, so we're hoping that we keep on trucking here with Robby. But welcome to the podcast, Robby.
Thanks for having me.
And I want to start by saying I met Robby before he hired me for his position. He was principal at Central Noble Primary. He's going to tell you all about that. But Robby and I crossed paths at a high ability conference in Indianapolis the year before I came to Central Noble. His last year at Central Noble Primary, we were walking down the hallway. Might have even been going to the same session. I don't know. I was probably trying to ditch and go hang out at the bar or something. I don't know. But looked over and saw his name tag, said Robby Morgan from Central Noble, introduced myself. We had kind of a common friend in his SRO, Jason Kuntz, Officer Jason Kuntz.
Shout out to Jason.
Shout out to Jason. So
Thanks for leaving us.
thanks for leaving us,
And
Jason.
taking Roxy, too.
And taking therapy
Actually,
dog
we
Roxy.
just care about Roxy. Bring her back.
That's right.
Free Roxy.
But anyway, long story short, it's funny how your paths cross with people. I would not have guessed less than a year later I would be talking to Robby about coming to Central Noble Primary and interviewing with him and being fortunate enough to now work for him. He's a great superintendent, a great guy to work for, and we're going to learn all about Superintendent Morgan right now. So Robby, can you give us some background about who you are, how you got here, and leading up to Superintendent of Central Noble Schools?
Right. So I'm originally from Bluffton High School, Bluffton, Indiana. Go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers. I actually worked at Bluffton for a lot of years, and I knew of Robby. I heard a lot of stories from Robby. He may get into those later, but
My name may be etched into the wall still in the principal's office.
Yeah, so
sure.
go on. Anyway.
So graduated from Bluffton High School, went to Tri-State, which is now Trine University, on a baseball scholarship.
What position?
I pitched and played second.
Nice.
And then quickly realized that I was actually going to have to find an actual career because I wasn't as good at baseball.
The MLB wasn't going to do it for you. Okay.
I thought I was really good.
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm not as good. And baseball went from being fun to being a job.
Yeah.
That's not good.
For sure.
And it wasn't as fun as it sounds. So I ended up getting a degree in elementary education. Met my wife at Tri-State. She is a year older. And she was from Ligonier, went to West Noble, which she ended up getting a job at West Noble. So I kind of had a gravy train to start out. Like I was still going to school.
Shout out to Mindy Morgan for pulling you right along on the gravy train.
And just putting up with you in general.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I'm still a little salty because there were times she was a year ahead of me, right? We had the same classes. I was like, hey, give me the work. Like, I just don't have to do it. She made me do my own work. Like, I don't know if you know my
True teacher.
She was setting you up for success as a superintendent,
She
I think.
was. Actually, set us up for I was angry.
Yeah.
That's what happened. So she had a job. We ended up getting married my senior year. Been married 22 years now. So
again, shout out to Mindy Morgan for 22 long, hard years. Okay.
We have 3 boys. They all attend Central Noble. Brody's a senior, Brant is a freshman, and Brock is a 7th grader. So again, shout out to Mindy. Because,
just a lot of, mostly the Mindy Morgan podcast today.
Yeah, right,
so.
Unfortunately for her, our dogs are also males, so she is just surrounded by testosterone.
We have Mindy as a next
I think
guest.
she might need to be on this as a special guest.
Right, she can be the fact checker.
There you go.
So I ended up doing my student teaching at Ligonier Elementary and ended up with a job the following year there, and so taught there for 12 years, 4th grade, loved every minute of it. I kind of biased to 4th grade. I think it's like the perfect age.
Yep, me too.
They still love to be at school.
Mine was 5th grade. I love those kids.
Yeah, you can joke around with them. Ended up leaving there as I started my admin journey and went to Chandler Elementary for 2 years. I was a TOSA there, which
what is a TOSA?
hopefully nobody from Goshen's listening. That is a teacher on on special assignment, and I had administrative duties.
Okay.
So I
Interesting.
I was basically an
Never heard of a
assistant principal,
TOSA.
but not paid like one. So,
Okay.
but it got me great experience.
As I say, it gave you some of that administrative
did.
experience.
Yep.
Nice.
It did. Made classwork a lot easier because I was actually going through it, so it was kind of putting
As
it
you
into
were
practice.
learning it, yep, that's good.
Finished my admin license. Ended up at Prairie Heights Middle School for a year. Loved that. Loved the people there. But ended up getting a job offer back at Goshen High School under Dr. Younghans as an assistant principal for the sophomore class.
Dr. Younghans, I'm not sure we've had him on. We haven't had him on the podcast, but he is our elementary principal here at Central Noble.
Yep.
So
Wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
Great guy. I learned a lot from him in that year that I was with him. And then Jeff Harper, who was the assistant principal at the time, I taught with him at West Noble. He was assistant principal at Central Noble High School, our senior high. And then he called me one day, kind of out of the blue, and was like, hey, you need to apply at Wolf Lake. It's going to be open. Wasn't sure I wanted to. It was a huge pay cut from Goshen, but it was a lot closer. I'd get to see my boys, and it was worth every minute that I gained back. So ended up as the Wolf Lake principal, went through the transition to the primary, was there for 7 years, and then I've spent the last 3 years, once Mr. Gaff left, as the superintendent. Ended up getting my superintendent's license and my EDS through Indiana State.
Nice. That's a long
go
road.
Sycamores.
Go
Yeah.
Sycamores.
Oh, shout out to the Sycamores there. Okay.
Was that?
Yeah.
Did you do that
I never
on
met Larry
campus
Bird. I was kind
or?
of disappointed about
that's-
that.
Did you do that on campus or?
It was a mixture as a hybrid.
Okay.
So it
'Cause
was
that's a long drive. That's
That
a,
is
on
kinda-
campus once a month. The other weeks were online. So.
Nice. Well, take us a little bit deeper, Robbie. Let's talk about who inspired you or what inspired you to jump into that career of education from baseball. Yep, you needed a job, but
Right.
why did you choose education? What inspired you to get there?
I think if you would have asked me when I was a teenager, or said, hey, you're going to be a superintendent someday, or even a teacher for that matter, I'd have laughed. I hated school.
I think all your teachers would have
That
laughed
is-
at you too. If you would have said that to them. Hey, I want to be a
Definitely.
teacher.
Definitely, probably most of them, yes. But I had a few. Mr. Lesh, he was a great role model for me. Actually, he was a 5th grade teacher at the time, pulled me in one day from recess and said, listen, you got to start trying as hard in the classroom as you do when you're out there playing football. And so basically he said, you're not going outside until you start doing your work. And I wanted to go play, so I started doing my work. Kind of taught me a lesson early, which helped because as you got older, you had to have good grades to play sports. And so Mr. Lesh was a big influence. But then also, I think I saw some really good teachers and loved their classes, and I saw some really bad teachers and thought, I never want a kid to have to go through that. And so kind of that spurred me to want to be a teacher. But then I ended up teaching swim lessons at Wells Community Swimming Pool. And I loved it. I loved working with kids.
Shout out
I
to the
loved
Wells
helping them.
Community Swimming Pool.
That's
it's,
right.
Sounds
it's
like
a
a fun
good place.
place.
It was a good
It-
summer gig for
it's
a
a
couple
great
of us
summer
in this
gig.
group. So,
It is a great
You worked there
summer gig.
too?
oh, I sure did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Assistant pool manager.
Well, I was only
I
a
have
lifeguard.
I have a
so
shirt, so pool manager.
Did you save anybody's life?
I did not listen. This pool was waist deep, except for the diving well.
I was gonna say they have a deep end now.
Yeah,
They have
it's just
slide and everything.
Yeah, well, the slide got put in as I was leaving.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but the diving well they had, really if you can't swim from there to the, I don't know. And plus, I'm not a great swimmer myself, so
I was going to ask.
I don't know.
but
I was no David Hasselhoff. Okay,
Robbie's built for football. and
He's a
wrestling,
yeah,
not for
I'm-
swimming.
You've never
I'm built
met
for
Robbie.
sinking. If
He's
somebody's at the bottom
built
of the
for
pool,
sinking.
he could
I
get
could
you.
get-
He could
I
get
could
you at
get
the
to you
bottom.
quick.
Yeah,
He could
he'd get there.
dive down
we
and
both-
shove you up,
right, if we
and he's
both
going to
got
stay
up,
down there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stay down.
So
So from there, I just kind of decided, man, I kind of like this. So I ended up telling my high school counselor, hey, I think I want to be a teacher. And she said, I think you ought to work in one of the factories around here first and see. And if that kind
She
of,
didn't see your full potential.
She
did not
wasn't
see my
feeling it
potential,
quite
but
then, yeah.
In fairness, I didn't show my full potential.
okay.
Gotcha.
So that kind of spurred me. That ticked me off. And anytime I thought I want to quit college, I don't want to be here, I would just think back to there are people who don't think I can do this, and
Yeah.
so I ended up doing it. So
Good for you.
So just kind of review, how many years did you teach classroom level?
12 years.
12 years as a teacher, and then jumped into that role as an administrator
What
for
did
how
you
long?
call it? What was it?
A TOSA,
TOSA.
teacher on special
Yeah.
assignment.
So you did that for how long?
I did that for 2 years.
2 years while you're working on your admin.
Yep.
Okay.
You got your admin license, and so how long were you in the either an assistant principalship before becoming superintendent?
2 years.
2 years.
One at
okay.
Prairie Heights, one back at Goshen High School.
Okay.
And then 7 years as the principal, and then the last 3 years as superintendent.
All right. Well, let's kind of go deeper now into the superintendent day-to-day life, because that's where I want to spend most of our time today, because I feel like that's your wheelhouse right now. It's the day-to-day thing that you're living. What's a typical day in the life of Superintendent Robby Morgan? And I know they look different, just like it does for
every
us.
day looks different. I think a typical day is everyone wants your attention and they want it now. So it's a matter of putting out fires all day long, and when you think you got one under control, 3 more pop up behind you. But I think everyone wants your attention, wants it now, because they want answers and they want to do what's best for kids. And so it's a lot of decision making on the fly, a lot of leaning on other people who are professionals, getting their opinion to try to make the best decision that you can.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people in the superintendent's role, or even the principal's role, tell the people under them, like, you guys, I just need you to make me look good and make my job easy, which is what you want people to do. You want to hire good people and have good teachers. And
Right. Well, you always want to try to hire people that are smarter than you
Yes.
in an area, right? Like,
absolutely.
Right.
I think everyone thinks the superintendent should have the answer to everything, and we don't. I don't know, like, spoiler alert here, but we don't. We have to rely on people who are experts in those areas, and try to discern what's best for our school, what's best for our community, and what are the values of our community and what aligns with that. So leaning on those people who are experts in their areas is the best thing that you can do.
Nice.
This is probably a kind of a hard question because there's probably a lot of things, but what's the most rewarding part of your job right now? And maybe it's tough to think of. I mean, with all the fires you have to put out, but what would you say most rewarding?
Most rewarding part of my job is coming back to the primary or even elementary now, because a lot of those kids are in elementary, and I get mobbed walking into the school from the playground, getting hugs.
Yeah.
Kids telling me they miss me, saying that they love me. Like, it's one of the best rewarding things, knowing that I've made a difference in their life.
Absolutely. That they remember you, they know who you are.
Yep.
And
They want me to come watch them play sporting events on Saturdays and Sundays, and
That's
come to their plays and do all this stuff, and I get invites all the time. So that's probably the most rewarding part. Second most rewarding is watching kids graduate. So from when I was here a long time ago, those kids are now seniors, and watching them walk across the stage and accomplish a goal, that's pretty special to me.
Yeah, and on a personal note, Robby and I are both going to have some hard times this year. His first to graduate is going to be walking across the stage. My second and last to graduate is going to be walking across the stage at the same time. So that's going to be interesting. But for you to see that be your first group of kids too, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and what I think for me, like, I'm a pretty emotional person, so it's going to be everything I can do to hold it together. As
there will be crocodile tears from both of these
It
two.
will be. It's going to be tough. So
we might have to have a video podcast that day.
Probably will.
I think it has to be cool though, Robby, that you were the principal here for so long, and you kind of moved up to the superintendent. So just like you're talking about, you've seen all those kids move. You're part of the community. That has to be a really cool, kind of unique thing about your journey.
Yeah, especially like a lot of the kids I've coached, whether it's been wrestling or football or baseball. So to see them going out and becoming adults into the work world, or going on to college, or whatever they're accomplishing, like, it's a great feeling.
That's awesome. How about the most challenging part of your job? Yeah.
How much time do we get?
Exactly, right. That could be maybe a
I was
whole
going to say, there's
podcast.
probably way more challenges than there are rewards, but what
Yeah.
if you had to narrow it down to one?
I don't know that it's a challenge as much as I hate disappointing people, and it's hard to please everyone. No matter what decision you make, no matter what you do, it could be good for 1,100 kids, but there's 5 kids it's not good for.
Right.
That weighs on you. But then also, like, you see on social media all the time people bashing or bashing teachers or the school or whatever, and we're people too. And no teacher woke up or school personnel woke up and thought, I'm going to make a kid's life hard today.
Right.
We wake up trying to do what's best for them, trying to help them become better human beings. we don't always get it right. And the hard part is then, people can say what they want on social media or out blasting you wherever, and you can't respond. Like, you just have to be a better person and walk on, and that's really challenging.
It is, and I've seen you walk through those challenges, and you do it really gracefully. Better than what I could do, I think.
Absolutely,
sometimes. There was a part of my career where I thought I wanted to make that jump, and I've never gone on to get my license or anything like that. And I look back now and I see, the things that you go through on a day-to-day basis, both good and bad. And I've seen other superintendents walk that walk, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not for me. I'm in my wheelhouse, and I'm going to stay right here. But it takes a lot to do what you do every day. And so, speaking of that, let's talk about big decisions. I mean, because you have a lot of those too. They center around personnel, budget, community, parents. What are some of the big decisions that you have to deal with as superintendent?
I think actually every decision is a big decision. Like, every decision that comes out of central office affects students' education in some way or form.
Right.
And I take that as a big responsibility. I think one of the bigger decisions right now is we've been having to go through and look at a referendum. That is a huge decision. We didn't take it lightly. We've done everything we can to try to avoid it, but the way the times are, we're going to have to ask, and hopefully our community finds value in what we do for students and finds that the future of our kids is important, and we'll get behind it.
And speaking of that, I think one thing to throw in here, a nice fun fact regarding the referendum and its process, you said we are one of the last 15 schools in the state of Indiana.
Out of 290, we're one of 15 left that have never had a referendum or currently have one.
Yeah, which I really think that speaks to how we steward our money as a corporation and have really tried to protect the community from needing that. But it's nothing that we've done at this point. It's more the burden of the state and federal that
the time,
the funds are just not coming in like they used to. So,
and to provide the education that our community wants and deserves, to be able to continue that, this is just the route that we're going to have to take. So,
Okay.
How about kind of going on with big decisions as a superintendent? How about like unexpected challenges that pop up as a superintendent? So let's be honest, snow days or delays or those kind of things. We've had how many lately, and that can't be an easy decision.
Definitely not an easy decision. I don't know if you've ever had to put like the safety of 1,100 kids in the palm of your hands and make a decision.
No, thank you.
It's not easy. Not everybody understands it. Most people will say, well, the main roads are fine. Yeah, main roads are fine, but 16-year-olds driving on half blown over.
We're pretty rural here.
Rural roads with
in the dark.
In the dark with ice. And one of our bus drivers said the other day, like, I'd gladly let anyone come with me on these days and try to do this in the dark. It's not fun.
I can't imagine. Safety
is going to be our top priority. I would rather have a delay or have to have virtual learning than go to a funeral. I don't ever want to have to look a parent in the eyes and know that, like, I didn't call a delay or cancel, and that could have been part of the reason that their child's no longer here. That's not something I want on my shoulders.
I think this question is going to be kind of interesting because I know I put off having my kids be in a building where I was at as a principal. I didn't have kids when I was a teacher, so that wasn't an issue. But I really kind of felt like I wanted to protect them and not have dad as their principal. And then it came to a point where they did join me, and it was good. It was a good experience, I think, for both. But there was some hard times, too, that we worked through. But what's it like being the superintendent of the school corporation where not only your children grow, but your wife is a teacher as well?
Right. Great days and terrible days.
I'm sure,
and probably more for the boys than Mindy or I.
Sure.
We've had to have long talk with our boys about what their expectations are. They're always watched. It doesn't matter what they do, whether it's good or bad, somebody's going to tell us. They can't get away with anything. We know, and they're held to a different standard. And sometimes for teenage boys, that's not fair. But we talk in our household like fair's a 4-letter word, like just that's the way it is, right? Like,
and fair's not always equal. Is
it's
what I
not right. Fair's not always equal.
But on the other hand, they get some privileges that other kids don't get. Like on the weekends, if they want to come hit in the batting cage or do whatever, like I have the keys and we come in and we use it. And I think that it's a balancing act. But what I never want is for anyone to ever say, well, those those boys were Morgans and they got special treatment.
This,
That's
this,
not
and
how it
this,
is.
yeah.
I've told teachers, I've told other admin, like, hey, if they do something they're not supposed to, suspend them. Like, that's just what it is. And
Right.
my youngest has been suspended once. Like,
Okay.
he would probably tell you. He also was disciplined at home. So it's
he's kind of like his dad,
Yeah,
huh?
well,
They're
Maybe?
definitely under the spotlight, I think, because I know,
Yeah.
like, for me, my youngest, like, people would tell me, like, did you know that she did this last night? And I mean, I remember going in the middle of a basketball practice, her junior high year, and pulled her out of practice to call her out on something that she'd done in the locker room.
Poor kids.
Borderline vandalism there, Mayor. And, you know,
Way to
so.
go, Mayor.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mayor.
So just them knowing that we're going to find out about the
There's going to be a
dumb
spotlight on
things
them,
that they
whether
did.
they
right.
want it or not, whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
It's just how it's going to be.
For sure. We're going to switch gears here real quick as we want to start to wind down, but I threw in a joke here real quick. How do you know when a superintendent is lying to you?
Ooh.
When they say,
Ooh.
hey, this meeting's going to be quick.
Definitely.
That was a good one.
Let's throw some rapid fire questions at
Yes,
Robbie
we
now.
love rapid fire time.
So, and I know Robbie has seen these questions ahead of time, so we let him cheat a little bit to kind of think about the best answers. But here we go. Question number 1. Favorite school lunch when you were a student?
Oh, 100% the square pizzas with corn.
Everybody
I
says
almost
that
can't
with the
have
corn.
pizza without corn.
You
Right.
can't. No.
That's right.
All right.
Pizza Hut serve corn? Can you go?
Yeah, can you get it?
You know, they'd probably up their sales if
They
they, thought
probably
about it.
would.
Shout
Okay.
out Pizza Hut.
Shout out to Pizza Hut. Favorite school lunch as a superintendent. So if you had to come to the primary to eat lunch tomorrow, what are you going to get? What if you had your choice?
Well, you put that qualifier at the primary.
Well,
Because I was going to say favorite school lunch, like Ale House. But
right. Okay.
now what is my... You know, we have the, like... potato, chicken, corn, cheese bowls. that
Oh,
they have.
yeah.
Yes, we did
Yeah.
have that.
Oh, man.
Those are
Okay.
pretty good.
I love those.
A little
Okay.
chicken nuggets, little cheese, little
Yeah.
corn.
Okay.
So I don't know if you
A
go to
little
the junior...
KFC kind of
Yeah,
situation.
if you go to the junior, senior high, man, they have a macaroni...
They have
macaroni and cheese like line. They have
Salad
salad
bar.
bar, sandwiches, pizza.
It's-
Like
We should go over there and get some lunch
Yeah.
together
Yeah,
sometime.
it's
right?
pretty
It's pretty
lush
legit.
over
And the
there.
kids, like, my boys will complain, and I'm like, well, listen, I know it's not your mom's cooking, but like
Shout out
compared
to
to what
Mindy
I
Morgan again.
yeah, right.
She a good cook?
Well, she grew up Mennonite. What do you think? She's an amazing cook. Look at me. Right? There's a reason I look like
All right,
this. She's
okay.
an amazing
All right.
cook.
Shout out to Mindy.
Best book that you've read recently?
Lead From Where You Are by Dr. Joe
that is a good
Sanfilippo.
one.
It's a really good
Yes.
book. About halfway through it, I actually just saw him speak about a week ago,
Nice.
so I ordered
Wow.
the book. Started reading it. That guy, if I could model myself after someone, that would be a guy I'd want to model myself after.
Awesome.
Nice.
Coffee or tea?
Ooh, Mountain
Neither,
Dew.
do you?
was
Yeah, I was
gonna
going to
say,
say.
I knew the answer to this
no,
one.
Right.
neither.
Not
Mountain
great
Dew.
for someone who's diabetic. But don't tell me, hey, Mindy, that was a joke. It was Diet Mountain
Diet
Dew.
Mountain
Diet
Dew,
Mountain Dew,
caffeine
Mindy.
free even. So, early bird or night owl?
Definitely a night owl.
Shout out to
I
the
can't.
night owls.
I can't shut my brain off. I'm up till
I'm the same.
Me
1:30
too.
every morning.
But then I
Wake
get up early, and it's a vicious cycle
Yeah, it
sometimes.
is.
Yeah.
My wife would say I don't get up early. I get up about 6:30 after my alarms went off 4 or 5 times.
That's
Okay.
me.
Yeah, me too. Most memorable snow day experience,
And that can be as a kid or teacher, whatever you want. We'll leave it open to you.
like last week or whatever.
I would say one of my most fun ones. We did a video one time with me, Officer Kuntz, I think Jared Knipper, the elementary principal. We were surfing down one of the carts down towards the lunchroom.
Yeah.
Ended up having a mishap, all wrecked. I think we about damaged the railing pretty bad.
We might need that video.
Well,
Could
we might need to remake it. I
yeah.
can do that with you.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that'd be
Get
fun.
Officer Locke,
I'm sure it's
break a
posted
hip.
somewhere.
Gonna have
be
to
fun.
find that one. Favorite Central Noble event that you've been to?
Man,
Yeah, that's kind of
we
hard.
have a lot of great events. I mean,
We do host a lot of cool things
Yeah.
here.
There is nothing better. Like any time that we play Busco, doesn't matter if we're good, we're bad, they're bad. Just the rivalry that's there, the people that show up, being in our gym with completely packed with our pep band playing. Like, I'm not sure it gets better than that. Like, if
Yeah.
you want to talk about like Indiana and basketball,
Yeah.
like,
That
that's what it's
atmosphere is
about.
cool.
Like, I don't think there's a lot of schools that still have that atmosphere. And
No,
it's
when you
pretty
see our
awesome.
pet band, it's like, oh, they're not going to be, they're not
They
big, they're
are
not going to be good, but
good.
they will blast you.
They
out.
are
they're
good, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Tell us one thing that most people don't know about you.
Ooh. That's a good one. Well, I would say most people would be surprised to know that my parents were teenage parents. They were not, clearly not married when I was born, and so I'm kind of like an outlier. I don't know if you ever read the book Outliers.
Yep.
I would probably fall in that category. Like, I'm not where you think that I should probably be with teenage parents, but they taught me the value to work hard and learned to work hard on my own because there were some things that I wanted differently for my life. And so did that. I would think that would probably be, most people don't know that.
Nice.
That's interesting. Yeah. If you could swap jobs with anyone at Central Noble for one day, just one day, who would it be and why?
Ooh.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
This is anyone at Central Noble.
Anybody.
This is.
I'm trying to think of who I would, and
I
know.
I read this question earlier. They fed me the questions, so that's why I've been so great here. And I couldn't think of, like, there are a lot of people that I'd want to be. But if it was one person, I'm going to have to go with the Jewel of Jasper, Mr. Scott Reese.
Shout out to Scotty Reese.
Hey,
Scotty
listen,
Reese.
100%, if I could go do PE with elementary kids all day, like, I'm going to be the king of every sport that they try.
Yeah, that would be a fun job.
I think I'd dominate.
Scott Reese, for those who don't know, is our PE and our art teacher here at the primary, and he also goes over to the elementary school. So,
yeah,
that would be a good one.
He's got a pretty good gig.
He's got a good gig. He'd tell you he's got a good gig.
I think if we played, like, basketball, I'd be 1,000-0 against these kids.
Okay.
Like, I don't
But could you name that tune like he does?
I could not.
He's pretty
pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Well, Robby, thank you for being a part of the podcast. Before we end up here winding down, is there any last final thoughts or messages for the Central Noble community that you'd like to share?
Absolutely. 100% that we want every kid that comes in our school through our doors to feel loved, to feel like they're safe, and feel like they got a good education. That's what we're here for. That's what I strive for every kid to feel like. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. We want you to be successful, and we want to cheer you on along the way.
Nice. I would second
That's
that.
awesome.
Thanks for being here, Robby.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Kylie, what are we going to do next week? We talked about Robby's favorite book. What are we going to talk about next week?
It's called Page Turners for Teachers, and we are going to talk about our favorite educational books and kind of do a little, not a book study, just a book review, kind of.
Yeah, I think we're going to bring 2 or 3 of our, recommendations as educators, and maybe even just something for your personal read too. So we're going to kind of have some page turners for teachers next week, our favorite education books to share. With that, though, Kylie, it's that time.
Awesome.
Let's cue up the music.
Go Cougars.
Go Cougars. Thanks again, Robby, for being here, and thanks for joining us again this week. Remember to give us some questions, comments, feedback. If you've got some ideas for future episodes, let us know.
Or if you have any book recommendations you'd like us to share, shout them out to us. We'd love to hear them.
All right.
And on that, class dismissed.